Hi guys, I hope you're well. How's things? So I'm going to just brief you on the sort of market structure and where we are and sort of why really. Just typical price action fundamental technicals. So we have had. We'll go on the daily. So back to the whole pump and dump here. Okay, so we had that summer rally down, and then we've seen the lows of the year basically. So what I do is I go in the daily, and then I check, I mark for longs. I'm only looking at longs here really. It depends if you're comfortable shorting and really using technicals and being super precise. But for me, I'm looking for that risk to reward. Okay, I was actually short here. Okay, should I, woulda, coulda. Didn't hold it. Okay, so we've seen the lows here, tested it, and here we are having Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We've wicked off here on the daily, which would indicate to us that we've had a nice rally, which we've seen here. And this obviously is our area of interest. It depends if you want to call it a demand. You can call it a support. But for me, it was tested a little bit, so it formed a bit of a support for me to then enter. A bit like Darren, he's done a video, and I didn't place that trade. So it's a shame because the risk to reward was there. So if you, of course, had bought that, just to show you very roughly, you would have got on your best part of 100k, 30k. So if you had obviously a 10 or 8k account, that's what you'd have got, 30-40%. So it's not to be sniffed at. So I think we were just a little bit nervous with the fundamentals. We've had a slow sell-off sort of since Tuesday. Obviously peaked here, failed 600, which kind of falls in line with more recent failures. We've obviously had a retracement there. So this is where I've drawn. People would be more precise, but I'm looking for that risk to reward. So I don't need to be, if I go offside of us slightly, but I feel I'm on the right side, like here, then I would have taken that speculation. Alternatively, we would have obviously hedged here and then bought in again in and around the demand area of here. So these are areas here where I'm interested in buying. Here again, 327. So we'll zoom in and see where we are. If it correlates with any buying, 327 is here. So we could have used this one as a guide as well. So we kind of tested it here. Obviously this is on the 5 minutes, and this could have been your indication to have gone long. We were seeing a lot of these sell-off V-shaped recoveries in the mix of COVID really and that recovery, because this is where I was buying and scalping on the way up. See a little pullback, see a little flick off a round number, or here sort of failing this or respecting this demand to a degree. It's not coming down here, which would indicate to me that there's more buying pressure. Not really been trading today. My analysis was there or thereabouts. But here, if we'd have started failing here, these round numbers sort of 300, then we could have had a further sell-off. So that's the way I do it, guys. I hope that's been of use. On a Sunday, I typically get rid of all of these, drawings and whatnot, and go again. If we had have pulled back even further, this is sort of the area. I mean, I know it's gone from 500 points could be a little, 500 points could be a little bit drastic, but I like using the trend line that I formed to act as a potential buy. So here, when we've had this, we haven't come down and tested this. I mean, you could call it coincidence, but this is quite useful sort of strategy really. I know that was early in the morning, so obviously we have the Asian session sort of opening. Has that respected that at 1200? Obviously romped on Monday following that buying. pressure. We've obviously rallied 600 points. So a slight pullback, a liquidity dump, sell side liquidity here. And then again, you know, we've got these IG levels, which are quite useful at times. And then obviously we mark our own levels on the larger time frames. If we had have proceeded to have gone long here, I would have been looking, if we'd have carried this on to say 1200, these sort of sell-off points, certainly in the European time, these are the resistance levels, so I would have been looking to test them and break and retest here, and then continue to have gone long. So these resistance areas here, I'm looking to retest this, okay, retest this resistance now acting in support, and then we could push forward. So there's like 3 or 4 sort of strategies. The main identifications is V-shaped recovery. Again, I think a few of us missed this. We were just a little bit cautious with the market having it rallied, but you know, it is what it is really. This is why price action trading on these leveraged accounts can be massive. I mean, if you'd have just used 10k, so if you'd have only used 10k, there, you'd have had a 40% return. So when people say that 40% returns are not achievable, of course it is. It's ridiculous. Like, this is trading. If you don't get that and get these moves, what, you just think you're going to scalp your way through and outsmart the market, which effectively you're doing. You only need to be on the wrong side of a trade, and you don't have that risk management in place, and you've wiped out weeks and weeks worth of work. So here, this just goes to show you, on a 10k account, you've an intra swing traded it. It's not there all the time. I'm not saying that these days are there all the time. However, when you do miss them, you need to correlate that with the news. I stick to 3 or 4 basics. You know, the yields. Of course, we know where we are with inflation and rates. And you get that feeling of the market's behaviour, the market structure, the moves, the price action. Then we've got to mark that up with supply and demand and keep it fairly simple, in my opinion. And this is why I placed a trade on the Tesla, hoping for a little bit of a recovery because it was a bit of a sell-off. But because I use a small amount of capital in comparison with my account, if I can't always win 10 grand and 20 grand and 50 grand, but now that's what I am focused on. I'm looking at really getting in here, cross-referencing this with my technicals as we've gone through, marrying it up with the fundamentals, seeing what stocks are out, seeing what investors have done what and why, and we trade accordingly. If we'd have gone long here, we don't get married to a position, we close it. However, we could have lost here £500 on a 100k account, more or less. If we'd have gone offside here, fair enough, it is what it is. We'd have just closed and lost. We'd have lost a couple of 3 grand, but the risk to reward is higher. Or alternatively, if you're scalping, no problem, but you've got to keep the wins, and you've got to prorate your wins and your losses. You can't just take 50 quid, 50 quid, 50 quid and then lose 300 quid, because you're going to bet you might as well lose 50 quid and say, right, you know, all right, it's gone in my favour, but that's scalping, you need to be on it. And that's what I was doing back in 2020 in COVID. We was having that recovery, so we were seeing these sell-offs, buying in and around where we was, waiting for that confirmation. Are them days gone where that confirmation comes in and you're comfortable to jump in there on a 3 or 5 minute candle, like here on support? Oh yeah, it's tested it, it's gone on a little bit. We are looking at the candles, you know, this is what I've got here, but we're not fixated with the moves, the you know, the actual names, the shooting stars, and that. You need to take that with a pinch of salt. Yes, that's okay for price action trading, but we need to marry that up with the fundamentals. All right, are we going to see a recovery back to or test 600? That's why I would be looking at that V-shaped recovery. You know, it's not overly complicated, but that's one strategy. That's looking at the market and seeing what it could do based on the technicals when we zoom out on the 4 hours. We zoom out on the daily, and we can say, right, are we going to recover from here? Are we going to get another 1,000 points? So 11.5, 12.5. So 12.5 is there. You know, can we see? You know, we've had some big sell-offs here. How are we going to look? We've pushed the price up there, and we've come back down within the day. So we need to be looking at these. This is great. Obviously, we are looking at that candle because it's on daily. It does tell us a little bit more in one visual look. Sometimes if you are looking, this is for like swing trading, like intraday swing trading. You'd have hit that, and are you going to hold it? Where are you going to sell it? If we close here and we test here tomorrow, there could be another buying opportunity. So we sort of come in, see how it's going to test 600. See what's happening on the Asian sessions. No one ever even used to look at the Asian sessions. See what that's happening. See what's happening back with our news and the fundamentals. And we go again. It's repetitive. This is why when I was bodybuilding, you know, you had to get that in your mind. It wasn't going to change. You do want to change. Ultimately, you know, you want an Arnie physique or whatever. But it takes time. So if you're trading, you need to be accountable for your profit and loss per day, even if you are swing trading. Swing trading. You can't just go, oh, I've had 3 grand here on a 10 grand account, or I've had 30-40%. Them moves are there on a leveraged account. Obviously, it's leveraged, so you're getting the return. So yeah, where are we going to go from now? It's you know, are we going to get a pullback from here? We had a 11,350, 11,350. So look, so 11 at 530. Sorry. I mean, this is what I do. I know we need to then cross-reference this sort of resistance zone to obviously the more recent movement, which was obviously here in July. So these little pumps, this is what could happen today. So these are on the 4 hours. So you've had 600 point move there, and then we've had a buying opportunity. So once we've filled the gap here, retested it here, are we going to sell off? Possibly not. And we price action trading, guys. You know, you might have the odd runner where you're like, flipping out, I've just bought in there, I've had almost a double bottom here, testing 11.3. Wow, look at that. Where we're going to go tomorrow, this is what I'm thinking now. I mean, it's quite a large move today so far. 230 points, 2%. I mean, that's quite big. So now we need to be sort of closing in around here. I'd like to close there. I need a water, sorry. Closing here above 600, testing 600, and see where we're going to go. So that's it.